What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, and on the phone we got Mick Jeffrey from Aversions Crown. Thank you so much for your time today, man. It's good to have you here.
Thanks for having me, man. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's so awesome to have you here. So the newest album is Hell Will Come For Us All. I was just checking it out, and it's absolutely awesome. For people who haven't heard it yet, could this new single, The Soil, almost serve as like a clear representation of what the whole album is going to sound like, or is that just like the beginning, the tip of the iceberg, if you will?
Yeah, I'd say it's more like the tip of the iceberg. There's quite a lot more to come on this album, and I think the next couple of singles will kind of get a bit more into that. But yeah, there's a fair bit of stuff in there, so I think The Soil is definitely just kind of a bit of a teaser for it.
Awesome. Yeah, do you consider this in a way kind of like just a direct follow-up to your previous record, Xenocide, or do you think that this is kind of like a new start for Aversions Crown in a way?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a direct follow-up. It definitely feels a lot more fresh to us. We've obviously, we have a new vocalist on this album, Tyler Miller, so that's pretty exciting for us. And we also kind of, are trying out some new themes and ideas lyrically and with imagery and that sort of stuff. And yeah, we're just kind of feeling creative and enjoying, being able to try some new stuff.
Yeah, being that this is the first album to have Tyler on vocals, did you have him like look at Xenocide and Tyrant, Servitude, and be like, okay, this is what we want, or did you want him to kind of bring a little bit of his own mix to Aversions Crown?
Yeah, we definitely wanted him to bring his own thing to it. That's what we liked about his vocals. We liked what he was doing from what we'd heard, and we wanted to sort of mix in what we'd done previously with his own style, and I think he nailed it.
Yeah, definitely sounds like that. Now, you mentioned that you were like experimenting. I know you're not the vocalist, but you were experimenting with some different themes and different subject matters. Could there ever be a time where like a theme or a subject matter can help determine the outcome of the music itself?
Yeah, I mean, in this case, we kind of wrote the album musically before Tyler was given any of the tracks to work on. But previously, we could, and in the future for sure, I reckon, if we had some sort of themes and ideas, we could definitely write music around that as well.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And like, I almost, was there kind of like a preconceived idea of what you wanted the instrumentation of Hell Will Come For Us All to sound like, or was there kind of like a lot of improvising?
No, there was definitely some ideas we wanted to bring into it. And I guess after touring Xenocide for a couple of years and Tyrant before that, you start sort of picking up on things that really translate well to a live setting and things that the crowd kind of grab onto and consistently go down over with the crowd. So we tried to bring all those elements into the songwriting for this record, and also wanted to have the songs a bit more structured, I guess, with a bit more, more hooks and, repeating parts and that kind of stuff that serve the song better rather than only trying to be heavy and technical and all that kind of stuff. We wanted to keep that element, but just, make it a bit more musical as well.
Yeah. So is it fair to say like you don't necessarily have a formula in Aversions Crown? Like, I always thought that people who like Servitude could appreciate Tyrant or could appreciate Xenocide, and I definitely feel that about this album as well. But so is there kind of like a formula that you tend to stick with at this point in your career, or is there still like a lot of experimentation?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's a formula at all. It's more just like an evolution in the songwriting that just happens naturally over time. And as I said, with touring and things like that, you sort of think, all right, well, maybe these songs had a bit too much of that or not enough of this, and you start putting that into the newer material. And it's just a natural kind of way of progressing with the songwriting.
Yeah. For you, do you almost kind of look at these albums as in a way like a timeline of who you are at that particular time? Is the albums almost kind of like a self-portrait in a way?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can kind of just listen back to certain tracks and when they were written, and that's a very accurate way of looking at it.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing I was curious about is being that your music is so technically impressive, do you have like a theoretical background when you're writing? Like, what scale you're working off of or chord, or were you more self-taught and you tend to, like learn things on your own?
Well, Chris is the main songwriter of the band, and I know he does have a bit of a theoretical background, but I don't think that that's necessarily where his head's at when he's writing. I think it's more just you'll start writing one idea and then it just kind of spawns from there. But yeah, I've got a little bit of a theoretical background, I guess. I did a bit of study and that sort of thing, but it just doesn't always have to come into play with songwriting. I don't think it can help with adding certain parts to songs, but I think the meat and the potatoes of the song just sort of comes from the feel, and then you just work on it from there.
Yeah, like do you find it easier, as you mentioned, Chris is like the songwriter of the band, but I feel like everybody brings, especially when I saw you guys live on the Black Dahlia Murder Whitechapel tour, which I can't believe was 2 years ago already. But
yeah, wow.
yeah, but I'm getting old. But I thought everybody really, especially in the live presence, everybody really brings their own mix and really their own spin to the band. Do you find it easier to maybe come up with ideas when you guys are collaborating together, or do you kind of have to like write separately at first and then present all the ideas to the band?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the writing is done separately, but when we do collaborate, there's usually ideas just come up because everyone does bring their own kind of, personality and ideas into everything. So yeah, it's a bit of both, but I'd say the majority of the stuff is written and sort of separately, and then we all kind of add our own little ideas into it from there.
Mm-hmm. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't you in a couple of other bands too, such as Widow the Sea and City in Panic?
Yeah, I was actually. Yeah, I was in both of those bands.
Yeah, because when I saw the promo photos because I actually did not hear or see you guys until the Black Dahlia tour. That's how I discovered you guys. And then I looked you guys up and I saw the photos and I was like, wait, he looks familiar. He was definitely in another band.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy. I didn't realize people had heard that band.
Well, for you, is there maybe kind of like a different mind frame depending on the projects that you're involved in, or is there maybe like a usual method behind the madness that applies to everything in a way?
I mean, it definitely depends on the project because of the dynamic you have with different people. So yeah, every band you're in, it's always just, even if the music might be similar, the dynamic is always so different just because of people's personalities and playing styles and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's always just a totally different feel, which is really cool. And it's great when you kind of find that magic when you, I guess, with a band of guys that you just kind of all click with musically and as people. So yeah, it's always something different.
Yeah. And kind of going back to what you said about many different personalities, is that why Aversions Crown has so many different members, or so many different sounds, because all the members have different personalities in a way?
Yeah, I guess that's definitely accurate. Like, yeah, we've all come from sort of different backgrounds in life and in music, so yeah, I guess you can kind of hear bits and pieces of everyone in there.
So if somebody got a chance to know all four of you guys very well and know about your whole life, and then they listen to the album, would they kind of be able to tell, okay, that's coming from Tyler, that's coming from Chris, that's coming from Nick?
Yeah, I reckon you probably could actually.
Yeah, that would actually be pretty interesting. It's like you should do different genres and put them all in one album and then see who wrote what. Yeah,
that'd be a cool collaboration project we should do one day.
Yeah, definitely. Now, when it comes to playing live, when I saw you 2 years ago, and then I went and listened to it, I really enjoyed the music. But seeing you live was a completely different experience. For you, is there maybe a similar art into playing live as there is with songwriting, or is it two separate things altogether?
I think it is pretty separate, but I've always kind of been sort of someone that just loves performing live. That's kind of why I play music, I guess. I love creating music too, but for me it's all about performing and getting out there and playing to different crowds every night, and that's what I really live for with music, I guess. And there's definitely other guys. I know Chris, his favourite thing is creating songs and writing music, so it's kind of a good balance when you have people with those different passions, I guess, within the music world. But yeah, I just sort of, I've always lived for performing and enjoy getting to do it with the band as often as possible.
Yeah, I people definitely have to watch their ass at one of your shows, which I think makes it all the best.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty high energy, and I think Aversions Crown really is a live band. That's where we've always kind of stood out, I think, and that's why we've kind of been able to tour so much, because we've always been a consistently good live band, and and that's, I think, a big part of why we've got to do a lot of the things we've gotten to do so far.
Yeah, and I gotta say, it was pretty hilarious in a way to watch you play, and everybody was crowd killing each other, and then Flesh Got Apocalypse going on right after you, and everybody was kind of like in theater mode in a way, like just like like I'm like, weren't those people killing each other just 10 minutes ago?
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty cool lineup for us, and playing right before Flesh Got Apocalypse every night was really cool because they're such a cool band, but so different to what we do, and the crowd kind of adapted to each band coming on, and it was a really cool vibe every night, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. And you've played with all these bands that you've played with are super, super heavy, but you played with death metal bands, you played with more deathcore bands, you've played with some melodic death metal bands and whatnot. Have you noticed different audiences depending on the tours that you're playing on?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we've even done sort of a full hardcore tour once in Europe, which we were sort of the odd one out on that. We were probably way too heavy for a lot of the people in the crowd, I think, but it was cool as well because so many people who've never heard of us or seen us or anything checked us out for the first time, and we played a couple of sort of festivals over there that were pretty much exclusively hardcore bands, and then we're a pretty heavy death metal sounding band coming on, and people didn't really know what to think, but and then the next follow-up tour we did, a lot of those people sort of came back again. So I think it can work pretty well to try and play in front of different sort of crowds, and as long as you play well, and you stand a good chance of winning some new people over.
Yeah, I think if you are in a way kind of like the oddball out on the tour, that's how people will remember you.
I agree.
Yeah. You ready for the most difficult question of the interview?
Hit me.
How do you know when a song is done?
When it's done, when you hear back the final mix, I guess. There's always little things that you're thinking, and then the mix comes back and you think, oh wow, that's not how I expected that to turn out. That's a really cool idea. Let's put some more of that in there. And but then I guess once you get the final mix back, you're like, well, that's it. We can't do anything else with it. And we're all happy. And but it's never done until it's done, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. And kind of going back to the new album, it's almost kind of like when I was listening to song from song, I thought a song like Paradigm had a different vibe than Scourge of Violence, which was very different from a song like Sorrow Never Sleeps or something like that. Is it fair to say that maybe these songs kind of represent a moment of what you or one of the members were feeling at that particular time?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And a lot of the stuff was written, over a couple of years, so they weren't all sort of written in the same little writing session or anything like that. So, they're all sort of definitely time-stamped to something or other that was going on at the time. And, I think it really kind of shows on this album. It was, the songs are quite different and diverse, I think. So I think we're pretty fortunate that we were able to write it over an extended period of time and bring a whole different bunch of elements into it, and it doesn't just sound like it was all churned out in one session, and all the songs don't really just blend into one. Yeah.
Well, do you find it harder, maybe the longer you work on something, the harder it is to maintain a certain moment?
I mean, it can be, for sure, and it's hard to kind of, stay passionate about things, I guess, over a long period of time. The excitement kind of wears off, and you're like, all right, well, we got to get on with it, and then it can kind of feel like that, especially when there's delays and things are pushed back and all that kind of stuff. But then there's always something new will pop up in there, and it brings the excitement back to it, and there's always things you can find in there to kind of re-inspire yourself, which is important.
Mm-hmm. And the final question I wanted to ask you is coming from your area of Australia. I've interviewed so many bands from Australia at this point. I've heard somebody call Australia now the Sweden of the Pacific because of how many metal bands are coming out of there. But especially within your kind of realm of heaviness, with bands like you guys or Make Them Suffer or Parkway Drive, and Thy Art Is Murder, is there kind of a scene in your area of Australia where you guys are currently from, or do you prefer to play outside of Australia a little bit more in North America or Europe?
Yeah, I don't know that where I live specifically, there's any kind of heavy music scene at all. Like, I live in a city called the Gold Coast, and the last however many years, there really hasn't been much here at all. Most of the other guys live in Brisbane, and there's always been it's a bigger city, there's always been a pretty solid metal scene from there. A couple of the guys from Thy Art Is Murder live in Brisbane, and yeah, it's always had a bit going on. But as far as Australia goes, it's such a big country with big gaps in between all the cities, and it can be quite, cliquey with different styles and stuff when you're touring around. But I think, for us, it's always a lot more consistent over in Europe and America, where there's so many places to play, and it just kind of always, feels like home touring over there, I guess. Whereas in Australia, even though we live here, it always changes, and the kind of trends and stuff like that are always coming and going. There's always buzz bands and that sort of stuff. So, it's a bit different over here, but I think just the distance between everyone kind of makes that inevitable.
Yeah, from what I understand, isn't like Australia, like all the big cities are like on the perimeter, and then it's just like wilderness in like the middle of it all?
Yeah, exactly right. The majority of stuff's sort of just on the east coast of Australia, so there's sort of a big city, Perth, on the west coast, but that's essentially from sort of New York to LA away, and in between there's very little. There's small towns here and there, and a lot of desert. So yeah, it's a big country with a lot of open space.
There's plenty of you guys should do a festival in the middle of like that area, like have like 5 different stages.
They actually do. There's a festival called Blacken, or it might be Blacken the Globe, or just Blacken now, but it's right in the centre of Australia in Alice Springs, and it's just literally in the middle of the desert near Ayers Rock, and they have a metal festival there pretty much every year now, which is pretty crazy.
Is it kind of like, I'd imagine that's a long ride from a hotel you're staying in at the moment, at that time?
Oh, it would be for sure. We haven't actually ever played that one, but it would be really cool to go out and check it out, because I think it'll be the most remote music festival in the world, just about.
Yeah, that actually sounds pretty cool. You don't have to worry about noise complaints, I can tell you that much.
No, you definitely wouldn't.
Yeah. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I know things are a little difficult right now after the Thy Art Is Murder tour got canceled. Is there just any way fans can support you at this time? And is there just any other tours or stuff you would like to plug?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a new film clip that comes out very soon on the 8th of May, so that'll be the second single off the album. So keep an eye out for that. I'm not sure when this goes live, but the album
in like an hour.
Oh, perfect. Well, 8th of May, keep an eye out for our new film clip and single. The album releases 12th of June worldwide through Nuclear Blast. And if anyone wants to help us out, any kind of pre-order stuff for the album goes a long way. There's pre-order stuff up on indie merch, or you can order it through iTunes, any of that sort of stuff. Any digital stuff helps. And we've got all of our tour merch from the North American tour that got cancelled. It's all online on the indie merch website. So any of that stuff, if you pick up a shirt or a hoodie or anything like that, that'd help us out heaps.
Yep, there'll be a link in the description on YouTube for your merch store for the fans to check out.
Legend. Thank you, man.
Yeah, of course. But thank you so much, everybody. Aversions Crown, Hell Will Come For Us All, out on Nuclear Blast, June 12th. Buy it then when supplies officially last forever, and we'll see you next time on Heavy New York.